Hey everyone, Adam here. Today I want to run you through setting up PowerPoint templates ready for use with the PPTX Builder platform. So for those of you who don't know already, it's very easy to export your reports from PPTX Builder to any given PowerPoint template. But to get the most out of the platform, you do need to do a bit of pre-setup in your PowerPoint template before you upload it into the platform. This project here that you see on my screen, you can see that we're already pulling in the question text and the base information, as well as dumping in the chart and all of the data and everything in here. It's pulling in the colors and everything like that from my template. But in terms of the positioning of things like the question text and the base information, these are only being placed in here because we've set up the template with some tags that say question and base to tell the platform. You can see when I hover over here, there's an outline. This is a text placeholder on a PowerPoint template, and within that I've put the question tag, and that's telling the platform, okay, this is where we want to dump the question. So when I download the PowerPoint, here we go. In this project, you'll be able to see that I'm using my default template in the export. So everything from my colors, my font type, the positioning of the logo, the charts, everything's being determined by my PowerPoint template. Within this, I had a number of different layouts that I could have accessed. So you see here, this is the layout that I'm using. My question's going in this box, my base information's going in this box. This is great for this specific project, but what if my client comes back to me and says, perfect, but I actually need this in my template with my colors and my logo? Well, we've got in this layout settings section a button called import theme, and what this is for is to allow you to import any PowerPoint template into the platform and make use of the color schemes and the fonts and everything like that within here. So the idea being you can get the template from your client, update it with a few tags, and then import it into the platform. So that's what I want to show you now. It does take a little bit of time to get used to, but once you've done it a couple of times, it is actually very simple to do. And if your client's already got some chart placeholders, chart templates set up, it can take less than 2 minutes to prepare the template. So let's jump into the template. That it's an imaginary project. It's a dummy project that I've set up, all about on-demand television, for a fake client called Awesome TV. Now I've received their template, and you can see here I've got a number of different slides. So this might look similar to something that you'd get sent from the client, but I'm not interested in these right now. I'm going to come back to them a bit later on, but what we're really interested in is what's available to us in the layout section. You can see here I've got a number of different content placeholders set up and ready to go, which means that they've already done a little bit. They've got some standards here that they set, so that's great. So I'm going to jump into Slide Master. So I go View, Slide Master, and now I have access to their template essentially. So if I go down through these, you can see I've got a title template, I've got a couple of divider template layouts. These actually look like they're set up for project information, and then I've got some chart layouts. Now I don't want to override their slide master. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is preserved. This is so that if I delete things from the main presentation, we're not going to actually delete their template or anything like that. But I'm just going to duplicate this and then move that to the top. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I've kind of got a master copy of their slide master below still, so I'm not affecting their template, I'm just adding to it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is delete the slides that I don't need. So for the platform, I don't need any template that isn't set up specifically to handle charts. And the reason for that is that I'm only interested in the ones with charts, because when I upload it into the platform, that's obviously what I'm doing. So if there wasn't a chart placeholder here, it wouldn't be particularly interesting to me, because I wouldn't be able to see the chart. So let's show you in this template. I've got a title slide. If I click on that, the layout selected does not contain a chart placeholder. So I really want my chart layouts to be at the top if possible. So I'm going to delete everything else. There we go. So I'm just left with my chart placeholders, but I'll still have access to everything else once I've exported from the tool. And in this one, you can see that I've done a little bit of pre-planning, and I've already put in some tags. You can see table name I've got here, question, base, and statistics. So I'm just going to talk you through what each of these do, and then we'll move on to the next slide and add these in so that you can see it in action. So one key thing to bear in mind is that when we actually export from PPTX Builder into our template, it's going to take on the fonts here. So even the alignment, the font color. So if I go home, for this one, when I export, my table name, that might be question 1 or a shorthand version of your question, something like that. Whatever your usual table name is, that's going to come out in Bungee regular, size 24. It's all going to be in caps. I think that's just because that's all of this font is always in caps, but it's going to be aligned to the left, and I think it's middle. Yeah, aligned in the middle, and so on. And this text box could be wherever you want. You don't even need a table name text box, but you can have as many text boxes as you want, and wherever we find the tag table name, that's where we're going to dump the table name. Same with question. In this particular example, it's going to come out font size 12, same font type, middle, left aligned. But again, this could be somewhere else on the slide. And then we've got base. This is where we're going to dump in the information around what we're showing in the chart. So if my chart was, let's say I'm using gender, I would have the base information to show how many respondents there were who were male, how many respondents there were who were female. And that dynamically updates as and when you choose different things within here. So you can see I'm showing currently on this one, this is a random segmentation that I've created, but if I change this to be gender, as we were just saying, now it's showing me male and female. And let's put that back. And then statistics, this is quite a nice one. This is a new tag for us. Essentially, if I choose to show significant testing within my chart, then this statistics tag is going to pull in information about the test that's being performed. So let's go to this example. I've already got sig testing applied to this example, and you can see this is where my statistics tag was, and it's telling me that there's been a significance test performed at confidence level of 90%, and the up arrow, down arrow mean over and under total. So I've tested these things against total essentially. And there's a few other tests, and this will update dynamically depending on the test that's been performed. But here we go, back in here. Now these things are now each in individual text boxes. You can put them in the same text box. You can have multiple versions of the same tag. So I might have base up here as well. And now my base information would be dropped in here and here. And things like if I press enter rather than having a space, when I export, these two things will be on two different lines rather than on the same line. Whereas if I put it back there, they're going to come out on the same line. Now I'm just going to revert back there. And then obviously I forgot to mention, we've got a content placeholder here. This could be a chart placeholder specifically. So if I go insert chart placeholder, so now I've got two different placeholder types here. I've got a content placeholder and I've got a chart placeholder. Now what this means is the content placeholder can essentially be used for content. So it's not limited to a chart, but one of the types of content that you can put in there is a chart. Whereas a chart placeholder is quite limited in terms of usually you can only place a chart in there. Now you can use either. I always recommend using a content placeholder purely because it's a bit more flexible. But basically, if the platform finds the content placeholder, it knows this is where we're going to put the chart. So essentially, going back to here, this box is a content placeholder. So the platform knows this is where we're going to put the chart. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next slide, just put these tags in and maybe get a bit more creative in terms of the look and feel, and then we'll create another one from scratch so I can show you, if you need to create these from scratch, how you make use of the placeholders. So going to this one, in this example my client already has a bunch of placeholders, so in here I can see that okay, this is where they would usually put the question text and base information, other footer information, but this is where we need to be careful actually. So if I go view, home, arrange, and put the selection pane on, I can see what types of placeholders these are. And looking at this is actually a footer placeholder, and we want to avoid using footer placeholders because we can't dump information into it dynamically. So wherever we find a footer placeholder, we just need to replace it with a new text placeholder. But I'm going to show you how we can make sure we're using the same settings. So I'm just going to go slide master, insert placeholder, text. And let's pull that to there. So we've literally just created a text placeholder that is the same size as the existing footer placeholder. The next thing I'm going to do is select the footer placeholder on the right hand side here and just press the up arrow so that it moves out of position. There we go. And then what I can do is have a look at this to see what fonts are being used. So this one is set up to use Railway size 10. So if I then click again on the new text placeholder, I can see we're already using Railway, but I'm just going to change this to be size 10. I'm going to get rid of the bullet points. So I'm just going to click to remove the bullet points, and then I'm going to change the alignment, I think. So let's have a look. We've got left alignment, obviously, middle, and then I'm going to look in here, click on this expand. I can see I've got a text indentation hanging. I'm actually going to change this slightly, so go alignment middle, text indentation, none. I'm going to make sure these are set to 0 and single. There we go, and you can see everything's now in line, which is good. This means that if I press enter, once I've exported from the platform, if I want to put more information in, when I press enter, it's not going to be kind of indented, it's all going to be in line. So I'm just going to highlight all of the text that's in here, and I'm just going to replace it with two tags. So it's really important that we use, you're putting the tags in between the curly brackets, squiggly brackets, whatever you want to call them. And I'm actually just going to make this a bit bigger so that you can see it, and then I'll shrink it down in a sec. There we go. So I've opened my bracket and I'm just going to put the word question. You can write it in caps, you can write it in all in lowercase, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to put a new tag for base as well. So all we're doing is we're telling the platform, this is where I want to put the question and the base, and I want it to be on the same line. There we go. And at the same time, I'm also telling the platform I want this to be using railway. Let's leave it not being bold. And let's just shrink this back down to 10. Yep, 10. But just to make it a little bit different so that you can see the how the platform takes on the fonts, I'm actually going to change the font type. Let's use something a little bit that's going to stand out a little bit more. Maybe this random font, just to show you how it takes on the font types. And I'm going to make it red. And then up here, title, this is where I'm going to put my table name. Table name, yep, perfect. And then in the other footer info, again, I can see it's a text placeholder, so we're all good there rather than a footer. I'm just going to put in statistics. So we'll go over these 4 tags again in a bit more detail at the end, but for now I'm all set up and I'm ready to go. But sometimes you might find that your client doesn't have any placeholders already existing for charts, so they might not have a specific layout, so you might need to create your own one. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to in here insert a new layout, and it's already got a title thing, but I'm going to remove that. So essentially what we're doing is we're starting with a blank canvas. When that happens, if you go to the slide master tag, you can see you've got this insert placeholder tag here, and this is where you can start to create your layouts. Well, obviously the alternative, if you already have some layouts, sometimes you might see something like this where it doesn't have a content layout, but it just has like a title layout and some footers. Then you can kind of use that for inspiration. So if I had that, I would just copy and paste the title stuff over, as that kind of works as a guide. But you might just be starting from scratch, so I would be inserting a text placeholder, and maybe on this occasion, let's get rid of the bullet points. This is where I want to put my question. And let's just remove some of these. There we go, and I'm going to line that in the middle. It's going to be quite a basic one, but just so you get the gist. Put in a content placeholder. And then I'm not going to show my base on this one, I'm just going to have question and my chart, and that's going to be it. Let's change this font size slightly, but make it bold. And I could even, select that I want it all to be uppercase or sentence case or whatever I want, but I'm just going to leave it like this, so it's just going to come out as the question is, and then I'm going to leave the rest of it blank. And the idea is you would just work down through. Actually, I'll do this one because it's got another text placeholder that I'm not going to put anything in, and this is going to be to add commentary once I've exported. So title, I'll leave title as it is as well. We're not going to make use of the table name in this one. I'm just going to put question base below, and then in this one I'm going to put statistics. And actually let me just check that none of these are footer placeholders. Nope, we're all good. Obviously the alternative, rather than adding it in each time, these are the same as one that I was using earlier. I could have just copy and paste, and you see if you don't have anything else there, they go into the same position. But I'm actually gonna steal the format of the one on the right. There we go. And the idea is that I'll go down through each of these and do that. The other thing to bear in mind is that the color scheme that's being used in the chart is being determined by the template. So in this example, my client already has a color scheme, and that's actually going to be the case for the majority of your clients. I imagine their color scheme will be embedded in their slide master. But if you ever want to change it, you just come to colors. You can see I've got a crazy number of color schemes in here. But you can just hit custom colors, customize colors, and the charting is going to take on these 6 colors. So this would be my first series, and this would be my second. So let's say I'm showing gender. Male would come out in this color, female in this color. But then maybe perhaps you've got more than 6 items in your chart. It would then just kind of recycle these colors but give slight variations on them, so you wouldn't get 2 the same. And that, I mean, that's the same way as PowerPoint would do it if you were just dumping a chart, dumping data into a chart in PowerPoint. So you can actually amend these and then give it a new name. I'm just going to leave it as it is. At the same time, fonts work in the same way. So I can add this is already set up to be the fonts for this company, but maybe you want to change the fonts in here as well. You can do that. Just to note on the charts as well, the chart doesn't necessarily take on this information, but if you do have the properties set to auto, so if I just show you what I mean, if I go to legend, my font type is set to auto. So that means my legend is going to take on whatever font is in here. So railway is going to be my font type when I export. So once you export, you don't have to worry about going through the charts and making sure you're using the client specific font type. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I've got a few different layouts set up and ready to use in the tool. It's really important that you close the slide master, otherwise the platform tries to put the charts in here rather than in your actual presentation. So let's close that. And then the next thing to note is that when I export, my new slides and my new charts are basically going to go underneath anything that I have in here. So your client might have, 100 slides in their template presentation. Obviously you don't want to export all of those every time and put the charts underneath. So what I recommend doing is just deleting the things that you don't need. A lot of the time you can just batch delete everything, because obviously you still have access to things like your title and your dividers and everything like that once you've exported. But in this occasion, I know that I'm going to want a title to my project. I've got this to go over afterwards, and then this one just to show you how it keeps certain elements. But let's delete everything else. I don't need these. Cool. And then I'm just going to save my layout. File, save as. And I'm just going to call this PPTX builder at the end. So I've still got a version of my client's template, but I'm going to just create a new one ready for PPTX builder. Save that. Oh, and then I'm just going to close it because otherwise I won't be able to use it. Oh, and actually I seem to be missing the logo from, I was expecting the logo to be up here, so let's just go and grab the logo from another slide. then pop it up here, maybe move it down a little bit. I'm just going to position it on this one, and then I'm going to put it on the master slide so it appears on all of them. So I've just cut that and then paste it on my master slide, and now you can see it's on every single one of these in this slide master. So let's just close that, save again, close this. I'm just going to hit import theme, select my layout, and this will be obviously wherever you've saved it, and I'm going to hit yes here. It's just giving me a warning, and there we go. My color scheme has automatically updated. My logo's changed, everything like that. My base information's in here, and I'm just making use automatically. The platform takes on the first layout that was available, but you can obviously choose then from those different layouts, either for individual slides. You can see my question text has moved down here, or you can apply that to everything arranged at the same time. But I'm just going to go down through. I'm going to select a few different ones so that when we export we can see the differences. And I think this number 10 didn't have, oh, it did have question and base there. So these ones you can see didn't have any other tags. If I hover around, I can see I've got the other placeholders, but I didn't get around to putting the question, base and table name tags in here, which is fine. It just means that when I export, I'm not going to have that information in there. So that's just to show you the difference, but I'm just going to put this back. There we go. Now when I hit download, PPTX, all of the same information, the charts are the same, everything is the same. I'm just using a different layout, different template, and I've obviously spent the time talking you through it, but it hasn't taken me a long time to put it together. Imagine if I was doing it without trying to explain everything that I was doing, it would have been a lot quicker. And there we go. If I just go down through now, you can see this is taken on the color scheme. This doesn't have any information in it because I haven't applied sig testing, but this is essentially now an additional footer placeholder that I can either add information to or just remove. My question and base have gone into this placeholder using that weird font in red. This one's a different layout. Again, this one, right, this one's a good example because it shows you how the other placeholders that you had there still exist as well. So this one, I know once I've exported, I need a title. So this is how often do you use the platform use, maybe something like that, something interesting. 40% use the platform every day. Not very interesting. I haven't really told the client anything there, but you get the picture. That's where your commentary can go in. And again, if I had stat testing, this would be auto-filled, but I can just remove this. And there we go. So same data, just in a new template, very quickly and easily. And I've still got my title placeholders, so I can put in my project name, on demand TV, and so on. And then I can put in some project information, and I've left this in here as well because I want to talk you through these one more time before we call it a day. The different tags, so they're very, very self-explanatory in most cases, but let's just go through them just in case. The key thing is to remember to have these brackets to open and close your tag, and then you have the 4 different tags that are available at the moment. We might add to these over time. First off, table name. So actually it might help if I open the data and I can show you where we're getting this stuff from. Come on, data. There we go. Great. So question 1, activities in past week. That's coming from my table name in this data. Obviously, for those of you who've seen this before, your data doesn't have to look and feel like this. We teach our platform to read in your specific data. You don't have to change it to meet our requirements. We change our platform to meet yours. So my table name happens to be here. You might have it up here, or you might want Q1A to be the table name. That's absolutely fine. You might also have, multiple questions on the same tab. That's also absolutely fine. So, but for this specific demo, this is where my table name is. This is my question text. So if we move on to the next tab, question pulls in the question text. In here, my question's gone down here, and that's coming directly from here. There we go. And then base dynamically pulls in the base information, so it shows actually whatever you're showing in the chart. But for this one, as an example, we're pulling this tag and then we're showing each of these equals this, this equals this, this equals this. And if you had weighted and unweighted bases in here, we would pull in whichever you prefer to show. In most cases, the majority of our clients want to show the weighted base, so we'll pull in that instead of the unweighted base. And then statistics, again, just to show you that, we're showing some information about the SIG testing in here. So again, this one's telling the reader that where we're showing significant differences, this means that this specific bar is significantly higher at a 90% confidence level than total. And just to add to that, these are built into the table, so these are built into the data, so the chart, and I could even change my chart type now and everything goes with it. So I don't have to, if I decide to make changes, I don't have to manually update the SIG testing. So there we go. I think that's everything. I don't think I've missed anything at all, but obviously if you need any other support or would like to book in a one-on-one to go through your client's template, I'm happy to help you set up your client's template. Then you can fire over an email to info@pptxbuilder.com, and one of the team will be happy to help out. You can also book a demo if you head to the website pptxbuilder.com, and if I just go to pptxbuilder.com here, in the top right hand corner you can see I've got a book a demo button. You can click on that and pick a slot that's suitable for you using our calendar, and that's it.